What's that saxophone? Oh, it's a King Super 20.
It's a Mark 6.
What? Howdy everybody, my name is Andrew King and we are here at Alamo Music. Don't forget to visit us at alamomusic.com where we will have all of these items available for purchase. Today we are going to be talking about the cool parts of purchasing used instruments. I know before we made a video about kind of the dangers of buying used instruments, and perfectly valid. There's tons of different risk factors and things that you kind of have to think about when you go into it. But today what I want to go to is the kind of cool parts of checking out used instruments. There's just so much history involved with not just saxophones, but clarinets, flutes, trumpets, all that kind of stuff. So this is going to be kind of our chance to do that. And for the example, I am going to be looking at this. This is something we just got in on a consignment this last Thursday, so about 5 days ago. And this one is going to be basically one of the cooler saxophones. It's kind of bizarre, to be honest, but I do really enjoy it. This is a Mark 6, a 1971 Mark 6 to be exact. But the cool thing about it, and I'm sure you can tell, is the absolute stellar relacquering job that was done on the entire horn. So as I've talked about before, relacquering can be a very dangerous process depending on what happens with the instrument. But after playing this for a few minutes and going through the horn and everything and having my time with it, it actually sounds pretty dang good. It's got a nice chord to the sound, it has a lot of projection, and you'll see it soon, just listen to the video. But the reason I brought this one is because this is one of those more rare instances where you'll kind of find instruments that have kind of gone against the kind of grain of history when it comes to these. Usually when people get these relacquers done, they'll want to get it in kind of the original lacquer color, or at least something similar, because they kind of want to recapture that magic. But one of the cool things about getting used instruments and everything is that each of these instruments have had their own journey through tons of different people. I've had different Yamaha instruments that have come in that have been played by super professional players from like Tower Power and Temptations, and they'll have little modifications done. You can see that this was an instrument used by a professional. Things like having extra rings for the neck strap, having risers on the palm keys, all that kind of stuff, and you can tell that a lot of care and love have been put into them. Or you'll get something like this, which is completely wild. When we first got it in, I really did think this was like a King Super 20, like one of those silver sonic saxophones from back then. And while that would have been cool, looking further into it, and the guy was telling me about it, he wanted to get back in the saxophone. He was like, I wanted a Mark 6 because, those are the most famous saxophones. And so he found this one. The color was extraordinary. Fold down, all silver lacquer going all the way across. And then on the body, on the extremities, so like the rods, the keys, and everything, we got nice brass finish to it. A really well done job. There's some splotches here and there. And with a lot of the engravings kept intact on the saxophone as well, as much as they could be, right? Because, relacquers can sometimes do that. The serial number and all that is also very evidently kept preserved very well. So that's one of the cool things you can find when you're going for these used instruments. And there's a ton of places that you can find these too. Reverb, eBay, all that's really good too, and it's easy to do the research as well. But sometimes we're not just going to be informed on those kind of things. But one of the cool things you can do is go into different music stores and order music stores. Say for us, for example, Alamo Music has been around since like 1929. And so there's a ton of different instruments and stuff that we've had here over these, almost 100 years of history. And if you go to those old music stores, those ones usually have something kind of hidden in the back that they've been kind of keeping around for a long time, and they tend to be really good instruments. Now, of course, there are some other parts with that, but when you buy from these stores, a lot of time they're going to have an on-staff repair staff. So when that happens, you can go ahead and be assured that the instrument's at least going to work correctly for what you're purchasing it for, because then you're assured by a good company with a good track record that it's going to be good. Other stuff about instruments that you can do when they're used and whatnot is definitely the better pricing, right? When you get a new instrument, there's going to be the thing called retail price, map pricing, all that kind of thing. But those are basically rules set in place by the manufacturer or the distributor to make sure that the instrument is kind of kept in league with everyone else. So there's a lot of regulations involved with that. But with used instruments, that's kind of all out of the window. At that point, it's a lot more based on kind of what the demand is for that instrument. So say if you're like a beginner and you're looking for a really good instrument, and this isn't any secret, you're going to find it for a better price if you get it used. Of course, always remember to make sure the condition is good and whatnot, but it's definitely a good idea. And these instruments, for the most part, especially from the name brands that we tend to mention, such as Yamaha, Consalmer, and Jupiter, Yanagisawa, all those are instruments made to last. Saxophones and saxophone players tend to kind of just keep their one horn and use it for most things because a lot of the sound and whatnot comes from the one person. So in this case, what ends up happening is you can go ahead and get the instrument, and with the full knowledge that it was completely made for you to be playing on it for the next 10, 15 years, and you'd be safe in that. Of course, you have to do your yearly maintenance and whatnot, but if you get it from a small music store or from a company that's been around for a while, you'll know for sure that it's going to be a good purchase. Other really cool things about getting used instruments, in my opinion, a lot of the time, what'll end up happening is that you'll want to kind of play test a lot of different instruments against each other too, just to kind of, you want to find that right one. And something that's kind of prevalent in a lot of older instruments is they were not all made the same. So with that being said, you can actually find, and I kind of akin this to like Harry Potter finding that like perfect wand in Ollivanders. That may be a weird reference, but it's kind of like finding that perfect thing for you. And so when that happens, they have this huge history to it, and you get this really storied instrument that you get to add to the tale of. So there's tons of other cool reasons as well, but for now, let's go ahead and listen to this saxophone. This is the Mark VI tenor saxophone that we got on consignment. We have it listed around $6,000, but give us a call and everything like that. We'd be more than happy to work with you, but stick around. below. What did you guys think? Dude, this saxophone plays great. All the way down, across, up, down, left, right, whatnot. The sound is great. I feel super comfortable. It's got that kind of like smaller body size that I'm used to with the Mark VI. I mean, we've played about 3 of them so far. This one might be up there with some of my favorite ones. I am very much looking for the chance to ever get like a nice like non-relacquered Mark VI in here. But in comparison with the other ones that have come in, this one's definitely up there. And this wouldn't have happened if not for the incredibly weird journey this thing's been on in its time. Now, again, one of the other things that you kind of have to keep in consideration when you get these kind of instruments too is that repair parts will be an issue, for sure. And so always remember that most repair shops are going to have a good set of standardized parts. So if you're getting like a used instrument and you're getting like a secondhand instrument, if it's one of the more modern ones, honestly, you're going to be even more set than someone getting a brand new one. You're kind of guaranteed those parts exist. You're kind of guaranteed that a lot of the parts that you need are going to be readily available to you in most shops. So that kind of works out in your favor. But thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you really enjoyed the playing. If you have any questions or anything like that, leave a comment. Get down in the comments. Let me know what was your first saxophone. I really want to hear that. Was it a used one? Was it a new one? Take your time. And then, yeah, look for what else we got. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful day.